What a great week! I only had the opportunity to film one day, but what a day. I started out by continuing to teach both Aries and Picasso to pony better. Picasso gets intimidated easily, so I have been trying to give him more confidence, while Aries tends to drag his butt. So I was having to calm one horse and goose the other. No easy task. And today, my dog Bailey also wanted in on the horse training. So when Aries drags behind, I flick the whip at him to encourage him forward. My goal is for him to adjust his pace without prompting. I have never trained a horse to pony before, so if anyone has suggestions, I'm all ears. So when on the outside of the turn, Aries has to accelerate to keep up. When he's on the inside, he needs to slow down. We practice this by doing loops and figure eights. I am fortunate to have two fairly patient horses. I am learning what works and doesn't work only slightly ahead of their learning curve. They are patient and understanding while I make attempts to teach them what I want. And aside from being a hair insecure, Picasso is a great pony horse because he listens to me and really tries to figure out what I want. Here I ask Aries to lower his head. This is not only relaxing his back, but it also releases endorphins and calms him. The more often I can get him to lower his head, the better off he will be, both physically and mentally. And now for trot. Aries has a slightly longer natural stride than Picasso, so I will need to get Picasso in better shape to keep pace so that Aries can move out just as freely as Picasso does. As with everything else, I want Aries to pony off of Picasso from the left and right sides equally. I wanted to get both horses ponying well so that I could exercise them together. I can ride Picasso while ponying Aries, and we can go up on the gallop track and get some cardio done. Plus, once Aries starts wearing a saddle again, this will be a great way for him to get used to the saddle without having to just go in a circle. Another benefit of ponying is that I can be above Aries without being on him. I can take a flag and wave it around, or I can lean over on him and pet him, or I can lean some of my weight onto him, all while still being on Picasso. And Picasso can exert his laid-back influence on Aries as well. Here, I start to feel Aries keeping up on the outside of the turn without much prompting. He is making the adjustments himself. Another thing I discovered is that I can lunge Aries. This will take more practice for Picasso and I, but we can let Aries trot out on a larger circle around us. I was very pleased with this session, it being only the second time that we've worked on ponying with any success. Now time for some lunging and cinching. Back in April, as some of you may remember, Aries began bucking hard when cinched. Turns out he had ulcers. We have hopefully healed him of those, but the memory of that experience persists in both Aries and in me. It's been very hard for me to get over my fear of being hurt by Aries, and I'm still not over it entirely. But today I made the choice to wipe that memory from my head and cinch him like he was any other horse. I did not cinch him very tight at first because he still thinks cinching will hurt, but I made sure that I did not have any tension in my body, and I just did it. He was a little tense, but he did not wind up at all, and walked off quietly. I cinched and uncinched several times, walking him in between, tightening, loosening, adjusting the pad, asking him to drop his head. The more I do this, the more he will see there is no pain, and there is nothing to fear, for either of us. In the past, sudden changes of speed or sharp turns triggered reactions, so I tried a few turns and stops. He didn't seem to mind. He is still skeptical, there is no doubt of that, but by not allowing myself to worry about it, I don't feed his fear anymore. Once I tightened the pad so it wouldn't keep slipping back, I wanted Aries to run, really run. So I took off down the arena, encouraging him to canter and let loose. I can't explain to you how happy I was. I'm sure many of you can identify when both you and your horse get over a hurdle. I just wanted to hug the fur off him, but he wouldn't have liked that. So I invited him to run instead, which he did. Watch here, his expression doesn't even change when I re-cinch him one more time. Now for some bamboo pole work. I'm not sure if it was the cinch, or him feeling good, or what. But Aries was much looser tracking left than he usually is. He dropped his head a lot more often and seemed to be better balanced than he was earlier in the week. I also occasionally tap his belly with the bamboo pole to get him to drop his head. Seems he is catching on to that. To the right, he was even looser. Now this cracked me up. Seems my dog also wanted to be lunged. She stayed out on the circle with Aries almost the whole time I lunged him to the right. Folks, my dog can lunge. Not on command, but who's keeping track? Bailey finally decided it was much less work on my side of the circle. Plus, I was done anyway. Now to ride. I had sat on Aries and walked down the road to the barn the day before. I am going to continue to hop on him bareback and work at the walk until he fully accepts a saddle again. I did my usual prep before getting on, just to make sure he wasn't especially startly. We wandered around for a bit, and I discovered that Aries moves off my leg quite well still. The less I need to use my hands, the better. Then there was a little hiccup. Aries startled at a noise, I flinched, he reacted, and I swung off. I held on and backed him up a few steps before telling him that all was right with the world, and then remounted. That little episode actually gave me a huge confidence boost. He did something, and I didn't die. Ever since seeing him panic and lose it with the cinching, I have this image in my head of Aries panicking with me on him. And when he panics, his mind is gone, and that is terrifying. But I'm not going to think about it. I can't. I will never be able to lead this horse if I don't put the past in the past. After reasserting we could ride, I stopped and swung my legs around his body, bumping his butt and his sides with my legs. Better get used to it again, buddy. I have thought, hey, get a better rider to ride Aries through his bucks, someone more confident. But that won't help my relationship with him. Aries is very person-specific. Sure, he may end up being fine for someone else to ride, but that will have no bearing on how he rides with me. If I have fear, he will be fearful. This is undeniably one of the hardest challenges I have ever had to face. Facing and conquering a fear of a horse.